Good night, everybody. I am Tariq Kelly, your department representative for computing, and tonight is the first night in the How to Survive Computing series. This first night will be about making the transition to university. I know I sent a form with the questions, and while that form is there, I would like you to know that you can drop your questions in the comments. If I can answer them, I will. If I can't, leave your name so I can potentially get back to you, or leave the question in the group so I can find out more about it and get back to you. I just wanted this to be a conversation between you guys and your department reps so that I can help you in ways that maybe the administration or faculty can't, or you aren't comfortable in asking them those questions. So I decided to do this to help you out. Now, the first topic that we will be going on for this tonight is, has CAPE got me ready for UE? And the simple answer to that question, I'd say, is not completely, not really. The jump from CAPE to UE is about as large as the jump between fifth form to CAPE. It can be a big leap, especially if you've never done computer science before at the CAPE level. It's a big jump and it's not easy, I won't lie. So I would say a good thing is to make sure you keep your head on your body and to prepare for a much more increased workload. So if you were a procrastinator before, or if you are the type of person who would wait to feel said them bright and can wait last minute to do the work, that does not always work at this level, I'm telling you. In terms of computer science and the syllabus specifically, the CAPE computer science syllabus focuses on C. For those who would have done it, it focuses on C and all that stuff. And while the skills you may have learned will carry across, they do carry across. We do Python when we start first semester, and then we do Java in second semester. So C, you will have to learn a new language if you are not familiar with those two things already. But as I said, the skills can carry across. It's just that you will have to learn to work more by yourself. So that's why I say Kate doesn't necessarily prepare you as much for UE as you might think it would. You are much more on your own than you are with Cape. And you would think that with Cape, you felt like you were by yourself. But trust me, when you get to UE, it's a different level. You are very much kind of by yourself, which is why one thing I advocate for people who are doing computing, do not try to do this degree alone. This is not a degree that you can do alone. When groups are formed and all that stuff, please, please, please try to make friends. Try to get to know your classmates, because that's one of the best ways that you'll be able to really manage doing the boatload of work and getting across. Because at the end of the day, there will be people who know Python already, who know Java already, who have done the whole 9 yards already, the big nerds in the class. And trust me, the people who used to make fun of the nerds, they will be your bread and butter now. um, those are the people that you want to get to know and reach out to them within reason. Of course, that does not give you the right to be sliding to people DM at 12 a.m. in the night because it took too long to do your lab. Don't do that. But get to know those people so that when you are in trouble, they can help you. We have lab techs, and the lab techs do help you to some extent. But as I said, most times our lab techs are students as well. So they are also busy. So that's why I'm saying it's really good to make friends. When groups are formed, do not just mute the group and leave it. Or don't just leave the group as soon as the talking starts to get a little heavy. Sometimes a lot of helpful things are shared in groups. And if I'm going to be honest, in my experience with my first year, a lot of people would join the group, they ignore the group, and they miss out on very important information. If it's a case where we get a redo for a test or any of that stuff, they miss out on it because they ignore the group and they don't really meds it, or they don't know anybody from class, so they don't get any information. So it's a lot more collaborative than sixth form is. It's very important to get to know people. I cannot stress that enough. In terms of, I'd say, general workload, it's going to be a lot worse. I can't. It's SciTech. SciTech is known for having a big workload. So you want to get your time management skills on point. If you do not have great time management skills, I'd say you better get very good at doing your work very quickly then, because when along with the computing courses, you get labs every week, and it's a new problem every week. You'll have a project to do in your first semester, so there's that. And on top of that, you will have other courses and other computing courses for math, for computing for math and all. And we'll get to those stuff as the series goes on with registration and what the courses are like and what to expect from them. We'll get into depth with those, but for tonight, I will say that the workload is much more massive than CAPE. So even if you were a good computer science student before, it's very possible that it will be a lot more difficult for you simply because of the workload. So this isn't to discourage you. I am just warning you from now, so that when the time comes, you don't feel too pressured and you don't be like, Lord, gee, where all this work come from? I am telling you this not to discourage you, but to encourage you to get your time management skills right. Kind of try and kill any procrastination bug you have in you. Please try. I haven't figured it out completely yet. I can't lie. I will not lie. As much as I'm a student leader or whatever, I have not figured it out completely yet. But what you have to do is try your best. Always try your best at the very least. I see a comment here from Kelsey Grant. Do we get an official syllabus on the first day? Um, Maybe not always on the first day, but all your courses will come with course information. Not only in computing, but generally that's a rule of thumb for any course you're doing at UWI. They do give you a syllabus of somewhat, usually sometimes to varying degrees, but varying degrees of detail, but you will always get a syllabus. You can go over it, and I highly, please read them. Do not see the syllabus on RVLE, which is where we go for where teachers post online, where teachers post lectures and information about the course and all that stuff. Don't go on RVLE. See the course outline slash syllabus, whichever one. Do not look on it and ignore it. Please, I'm begging you. If there's anything you do, do not ignore it. Read your course outlines. If you are making notes, write that down in caps. Read your course outline. It's very important because the course outline usually has the topics for the course. It tells you the format of your exams, how long the exams will be, if there's any special rules, especially for crit. When you do, if any of you are doing critical reading and writing this semester or next, it is important to read the course outline for that subject, because that is where they tell you all the rules and guidelines in doing the things that are required to get a good grade in the course. For your other things, as I said, they will give you topics and they give you exam information. It gives you the name of the lecture. Sometimes the lecture includes their email and contact information and all of that stuff. So it's very good to read your course outline. That's one thing I will say is probably a little bit better than high school when you come to UWI. It's that every course you do, you will have it very much outlined exactly what you will be doing for the year. Some lecturers even break it down to which week you'll be doing what, so you know an exact timeline of when you're expected to do that, and you can read ahead effectively. So for those of us who like to read ahead, it's very helpful and it's very good to get that syllabus and have it prepared. What I have here is managing the new workload. So managing your new workload in coming to university is not an easy feat, especially when we come from high school. I know that with science students, because I know everyone here has to be a science student at the very least. We come from the culture of where labs do a couple weeks before them due, and if a teacher give an assignment, you leave it and put it down, and then you come back to it later because you're bright and you can do it and whatever. Please don't come to you and do that. Please don't do it. I've seen too many people drown because they feel like they can do something last minute and it's much harder than they thought or whatever. Try as hard as possible to limit your procrastination. That's one of the most important things I will say when it comes to the workload. Please limit your procrastination. I'm not saying you'll get rid of it completely. Procrastination is a habit that's very hard to kick, but do your best to limit it and ensure that you have a sort of schedule for when you do things. So when you get your assignments, I highly recommend using things like Google Calendar or Notion or OneNote, any of those organization things. You can go on YouTube and search up ways and means that people use them to organize their lives. I did that a lot. So if you didn't catch that, I'll repeat it again. OneNote, Notion, Google Calendar, Todoist is another one. I think there's another app called TickTick that's a to-do list. Things like that are very helpful when you get assignments. Put them down in those apps or things and set them to remind you to do your assignments. If you cannot remember yourself, set a reminder. Or if you are not a techie person really like that will use apps and stuff like that, you can use a whiteboard. I know a lot of people usually get the whiteboard. I'm not a big fan of the whiteboard because I will use it for about a week and it never use again. So I'm not a big fan of the whiteboard. But if you can make a commitment to make sure that you write an assignment on the whiteboard as soon as you get it, um yeah, you can use that. The assistants on your phones, Google Assistant, Siri, all of those things, please use them up because they're not just there for decoration. Things like just a quick, hey Google, remind me that I have X assignment. Siri, remind me I have this on X day. Very helpful, very very good, because then that will automatically add it to your calendar. I use that heavily 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 heavily, um, because sometimes the voice interaction is much easier and much faster than having to sit down and type it out on your phone. And or you could use the reminder so you can look back on it and do something more detailed later. um Manage in terms anything else in terms of managing the workload is, um the thing about SciTech is that we usually do the most courses in one semester on the campus. So another recommendation I will give you is please don't watch your friends. You will have friends outside of sight and do not watch them. So especially SOSI friends, don't watch your friend and please don't do that, because their schedule will be very, very different from yours, and all the freedoms they might have, you will not. Now, this isn't to say you should throw your social life away, no, and we'll be going over how to balance that, I think, on night 4. But please do not watch your friend them and feel that because them have break and them can stay up all night and chat, that means that you can do it too. I am draping myself a little bit there, but it is true. Science students do not have all the luxuries and freedoms that every other faculty has. So I will recommend that you make sure you know your schedule. Make your own schedule. When you are scheduling out your time, set times to study, set times to ensure that you know that you're catching up with your work. Because I'm not saying it's impossible to SWAT, but I will say it is a bad idea. Do not SWAT for your exams. Please do not, because that will only increase that workload that much more, because you go over a lot of content in a very short amount of time. For example, before we go over courses in depth, I will use 11 compute comp 1126 for example. That is Introduction to Computing 1. That is a course that doesn't even last the entire semester. It actually lasts half the semester. So it's a 6-week course instead of a 12-week course. In that 6 weeks, you will be doing almost as much content as you may have done in your first year of CAPE. So that is why I'm saying that it's important that you do not SWAT. Try as hard as possible not to SWAT for computing exams. Please don't do it. It's going to be a rough time. You have mid-semester exams as well. So that's another thing you have to consider. When it's halfway through the semester, you will be doing mid-semester exams. So it's not like high school. Well, some high schools have exams every month or every couple weeks or so, but at UE, it's not like it's a little exam. It's a major. Your mid semesters are major exams that are contributing to your transcript. That usually involve a proper exam where you will be tested on what you've done for that half of the semester, and then afterwards you have final exams. So swatting is not always a good idea because you cover a lot of content in a short amount of time, and also when you come to university, lecturers do not go over everything. They don't go over everything. So you want to make sure that you set aside time to read and go over your notes and to read ahead. Especially for computing, I recommend going on YouTube and doing research and watching videos about Python and Java and stuff like that, because you're not going to learn everything in a lecture. I'll be honest with you. The lecturers give you the tools that you will need, the tools and skills you'll need to understand those things. So you might learn something in a lecture and then you watch a YouTube video on it and then it makes sense simply because you learned it in the lecture. But had you not gone to the lecture, you might not have understood the video. So I say that to say, please, 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 please read ahead, and not even just read ahead, read outside of what the syllabus might say. Read widely, because people might look at computing and sciences in general as not reading subjects, but trust and believe, when you come to UE, your science subjects become reading subjects very quickly. Please read ahead, read broadly, make sure that you keep yourself knowledgeable about computing things. One of these days, I will send YouTube recommendations in the group. So if anybody wants those little tidbits and stuff and wants to be that student, you can go ahead and start watching some videos for the summer. I'll also send book recommendations, any PDFs I can find them on that stuff. So if you want, if you're the reading type, you can read ahead if that's your vibe. Next thing we're going to talk about is, well, comment. Are there any suggested texts or materials? Okay, let me adjust my camera here 1 second. There we go. Okay, so I'm trying to be a good influence here and say, for computing, we don't really do the textbook thing. I will say you don't necessarily need a textbook. A textbook really more just guides you in and exposes you to a little more. But normally, because the nature of computing, unlike the other departments in the faculty, computing doesn't require you to do computer science. And we'll get to that in a minute, where computing doesn't require you to do computer science. So we start from the basics. So usually you don't need a textbook to pass. But as I said, there are some things that I would recommend that might help you. And if you want to push yourself above the rest and maybe try to clock that 4.0 or get that A plus, there are things that you can go for, but nothing that the faculty itself says you have to get or will recommend to you. So it would be more me out of kindness and care for you guys that will send you stuff that I recommend you use to help guide the journey. But if you're not, and I please, YouTube is your best friend. The Indian man them on YouTube that teach it, they are your best friend. Please go on YouTube if you do not understand something and research it. These are not topics that are hard to find. So even if the things I send might not help you, you can find things yourself that may help you. In university, it's very important to take your education into your own hands. Do not wait on people to baby you and carry you by your hand and walk you. If you need information, Google is free. Please use it. I am your department rep and I don't bite all the time. So I am here most of the time. As long as you don't text me at a horribly unreasonable hour like 4 a.m. in the morning, I am very likely to answer you, very likely to help you out, very likely to give you advice and tips if you need to. Yeah, so that's that for suggested texts and materials. So yeah, at the end of the day, you don't need it, but I recommend that you go on things like you use up YouTube and Google. Um, One more thing, very important. Every future computer science student, IT, whatever, as long as you're going to be coding, Stack Overflow is your best friend. Okay, guys, Stack Overflow is your best friend. In fact, wait, hold on. Hold on. Stack Overflow is your best friend. Stack Overflow is a website that often has information on problems, questions. Normally, if you type a question related to coding into Google, one of the first or second results will be stackoverflow.com. Stack Overflow will sometimes you will all find the entire answer to a lab on Stack Overflow. Not saying that you should go and copy and paste the people them code. Do not do that because we will go over why that's a bad idea when we go over how labs and all those things work. Don't do that. But Stack Overflow is a great place when you want to get some help or some guidance in the direction you want to go with, say, a lab or a project or a problem you're trying to work on. Stack Overflow is incredibly helpful. Another great thing is w3schools.com. w3schools.com has a lot of tutorials and will also give you detailed explanations on how some of the things you'll be learning works. So in terms of coding and stuff, certain things for people who did computer science thing, the functions and all of that stuff, it gives you a detailed explanation on how they work for both Python and Java. So W3 Schools is something you can use for the entirety of your year. It gives you easy to read, quick snippets on the things that you can do and functions you can use to solve your problems and stuff like that. I'm trying to not use words you guys wouldn't understand yet if you haven't done it. The next topic that we're going to go through is an important one. It's not talked about often, but I'd say it's important, and it's dealing with the anxiety of coming into university. It's your mental health is really important, and I don't just say that as a buzzword or some trendy lingo to say that, oh yeah, mental health is no, I'm serious when I say in university your mental health is incredibly important because it is something that can devolve very quickly if you let it. If you see yourself slipping talk to somebody and all of that stuff. We'll get there in another night. There's a lot to talk about. But in terms of just transitioning, there's a lot of anxiety in doing everything, and you want to make sure you do everything right so that when you start, you don't run into problems. And the first thing I'd say is don't be afraid to ask questions. Asking questions is important. And I'd say there's no stupid questions. No, I don't think there are any very, very stupid questions when it comes to making the transition. I'd say maybe think out your questions, but I wouldn't say there's anything stupid. There are seniors in the group. There's me. I'm always there. There's your faculty president and vice president. We're all here for you guys for that purpose, to make your transition as easy as possible. So I would really recommend asking a lot of questions and ensuring that you know exactly what you're doing. And also easing the anxiety when things like this are kept. These little talks and tidbits and stuff, do not shrug them off. I would really recommend you go to as many as possible when it comes to orientation and all of that stuff. Please try and go to them and attend, because there's a lot of information given at them that are very, very important. I know, like, even I think tomorrow night, I think it's supposed to be tomorrow night, I will be going over things like registration and all that stuff. And registration is something that is not covered until orientation, I think, by officially by the university. And by the time you get to orientation, the registration period is almost done, if you notice. So that's why I'm saying, so you would have gotten a lot of that information beforehand, and you can register early and all that stuff like that. So I'd say come to these things so that you can be well educated on what you need to do, how you're going to get through university and all of that stuff. If you have older friends or people in university, it's helpful to talk to them too, so that you know what to expect. They're going to tell you a lot of the dreadful things and this and the that and the stress and blah blah blah. But one thing I'd say is don't take that as a bad thing, because you're gonna have to go. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that you won't be stressed. If you just know you're gonna get stressed and it's going to get hard. But one thing I've said is that if you know beforehand, you can prepare for it. So that's one thing. Use that to ease your anxiety. The fact that you're learning and you know beforehand is one way to help prevent yourself from feeling that anxious about this transition. Um, Another thing is, I'd say, talk to your parents. I know not everybody is that cool with their parents, but talk to your parents and see if they have any encouraging words to give you. Ensure that you are in close dialogue with them when you get information from the university, when you get information from certain places. Ensure you're always letting them know and communicate with them, so that both of that you two are in sync and can, work together. Because oftentimes, if you are not talking to their parents, and you dash something on them last minute, they don't know how to prepare for that. You're flailing and you don't know what to do and all of that stuff. So you want to ensure communication is key. With just the general nervousness of university, it's hard to just fix that. You're going to feel it. You're always going to feel it. But it's about just taking your time to know that you're here now. It's just another stage of life that you have to go through, and you'll be fine. I'm telling you, you'll be fine. You'll get into the swing of things in a couple weeks. Just make sure you keep yourself educated and abreast of the things going on. I'm sure you've been realizing by now that you can be a very bit stressful with certain things, and just at the end of the day, you just have to take it in stride and keep it pushing. It's just another part of your journey. Just remember that, and that you will be fine as long as you keep your head on your body and you stick to it. Um, Another thing, the next thing is, I've never done computer science. So what's that like for me? Um, if you've never done computer science before, as I said earlier, you will start you from the basics, because computing is one of the few one of the few department, I think maybe even the only department that doesn't require its CAPE counterpart to matriculate. You can do any science subject and get into computer science. So they start you from the basics. So I would say that you will be fine if you've never done computer science before. But you may have to work a little harder. You may have to to read more. Since lectures are online, you may have to make use of the fact that you can rewatch lectures. You might have to do that. You might have to go on YouTube a bit more than other people, and you might have to ask for help more. But that's fine. People understand, and that's why I stress teamwork and to get to know your classmates. You guys are all in one thing. Every major in computing does the same first year courses, whether you're doing IT, software engineering, computer science, computer studies, any of those things. You all do the same first year courses. So you have a big pool of people to help you out. And if that wasn't enough, the physics department, physics first years, some of them, I think, do computer science courses, um, as well as actuarial science. They also do some first year courses. They will do 1126 and 1127 with you, so you will see them in at least first semester. There will be all types of people. You make friends if you have never done it before. Please, you guys especially, look when groups are made and all that stuff. Make friend, find the people who look like they know what they're doing and make friend with them. Help them out. The people who know what they're doing, let please don't turn away the people that don't. Listen, listen. If there's one thing to take away from this, listen to this. I know 1 degree I give away a graduation. It's not 1 degree. You is not printing out one piece of paper for you. Listen, okay? It's not one piece of paper. So if you know that you are good with computer science, do not hesitate to help people. If you have time, help people. If someone comes and asks you a question, oblige them sometimes. If they're busy, if you're busy, tell them you're busy with respect. But don't be the type of person who wants to feel like the degree, only 1 degree is given away. It's not, as I said, actuarial science people are doing computing courses, physics people are doing the computing courses, and even people who may be doing computer science or maybe doing IT or any of those things, they some of them have never coded in their lives. So it's good to help people. And in helping people, you can make friends and stuff like that. So it's important to do that. And it's very important to make friends because, as we know, links run Jamaica. You don't know who your classmate will be in the future. It is very important to remember that. Okay. I see a comment here. How are university exams different from high school? Huh. That's a good question. University exams can be much wider than your high school exams. You'll find that even if your lecturer gives you the exact topic that you're getting on the exam, you will still get questions you don't expect, and you just can't. You don't know where that come from, but the exams will usually cover much wider ranges of topics than high school does, because as I said, it's only natural because you do a lot more content in a shorter amount of time at university, so the exams are much wider in content. In terms of difficulty level, yeah, I'd say it's a little more difficult than high school exams. It can be a little more difficult. In an online setting, online exams, they due to some unscrupulous behavior that can go on during online exams, I will warn you and say that lecturers will tend to make online exams harder because because of the fact that it's online. So they expect certain things to happen that I will not mention on the live. I will not mention it, but we all know what can happen during online exams. So lecturers will make exams harder in order to circumvent that fact. So especially for you guys who will more than likely be doing their exams online, well, mid-semesters at least, with face-to-face exams have been said to be in person, but mid-semesters at the very least would more than likely be online. So that's one thing with that. In terms of the actual content of the exam, I wouldn't say it's very different. Nothing hardly different from what you do in CAPE. It's same. You don't have any really weird exams out there like that. So there's that. Next question is midterm exams. I did say this earlier. You have mid-semester exams because we have 2 semesters. We don't really call them terms, but yeah, mid-semester exams. In the fact, so they occur halfway through the semester, so around the 6 week mark, right there. So is you'll have mid-semesters. You'll get a schedule and you find the classes that you have and you mark down the dates and all of that stuff. But yes, you do have mid-semester exams. As I said, they are just as important as finals exams. Mid-semester exams are not just a test run for finals. No, they are an entire thing within themselves. They are just as important and can bring down your GPA just as much as finals could. Your mid-semesters are very, 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 very important, especially with computing, because one thing with your mid semesters is it tells you where your mind is at in terms of understanding and stuff. So I'd say it's very important to pay attention to your mid semesters. So yeah, there's that. Let's see. Next up, we have a question, and I see that a lot of people have joined in now. A question that I have gotten so many times and have answered so many times, I would be wrong not to include it. And it is, how does a preliminary year work? And I'm going to say it from the perspective of computing. So if there are people here who are in another faculty or maybe in another department and are minoring in computing, I'd say do a little more research than taking my word for it, exactly because I will be speaking on it from the perspective of a computing degree. So a preliminary year is something that you get when you have not met the requirements to fully matriculate into the faculty. So the requirements of the faculty, let me get the exact requirements here, is that you have 5 CSEC subjects and including English language and math, and 2 approved laboratory science subjects and 2 double units of CAPE. The sciences that they accept as valid sciences are biology, chemistry, geography, math, physics, and computer science. So if you don't meet those requirements, you will get a preliminary year, which will take your degree time to 4 years. For a preliminary to qualify for a preliminary year, you still have to have 5 CSEC subjects, and 2 of them should be laboratory science subjects, and they have to include English and math. So that's that for that. So the way the preliminary year works when you get it is that we have, I think, four preliminary courses, four types of preliminary courses in the faculty. There's biology, physics, chemistry, bio, 5, math. Yeah, so biology, physics, chemistry, math. You can choose from those. You choose 2 of them and you pick these preliminary courses, and each preliminary course is 6 credits. You do them, you're supposed to do them for the entire year. Essentially, your preliminary year is supposed to be an entire year. So usually it's very hard to shorten a preliminary offer with UE. You are usually going to have to do 4 years, since a preliminary year is designed to last for the entire year. Can you do level 1 courses as a preliminary student? Yes, you can, in the computing department, with that caveat. In computing, you can. The courses Comp 1210, that's mathematics for computing, and Comp 1220, that is computing and society. Those subjects do not have prerequisites, so you can do those subjects. And those courses, the credits you earn from them will carry over into your first year, so you don't have to do them again. There's that. The thing about it is though, it still might not shorten your time because I don't think they're required for any second year courses. So um, you still have to probably do the 4 years. I have a question here. Can you do level 2 courses in level 1? No, not in computing. The way the degree is set up, you can't do that. For your first semester, you do Comp 1126 and Comp 1127. Those are required, along with I think Comp 1210. Those are all required to do Comp 1161 in your second semester. For your most of your second year courses will require those 3 courses. So you cannot do 1161 until you've done 1126 and 1127. And then in second year, you require those 3 things to do second year courses. So it wouldn't be possible to do any second year courses in your first year. Sometimes it's not a guarantee, but sometimes second year courses are offered in the summer. So you might be able to get a second year course or 2 out of the way during your summer, but it's not likely that you'll be able to do that. I don't think they usually offer them in the summer like that. So yeah, that's for that. As again, for your preliminary courses, every preliminary course starts with a 0 in SciTech. And in SciTech, every single preliminary course starts with a 0. Oh yeah, I should note, yes, in the summer it is not free. You do have to pay for the credits. If you decide to do a course in the summer, you will have to pay the extra money to do that. So you should take that into account if you want to do anything in the summer, and take that into account if you fail anything, because if you fail anything and you have to do it in the summer, you're going to have to pay for it. Failure is not free at you. So yeah. Where was I? Yeah, for preliminary courses, yeah, in the faculty. So to make sure if you are doing a preliminary year, to ensure that you are doing the right courses, every single preliminary course, the way UE codes work, you have the subject name at the start and then the course code after. Every single preliminary course at UE starts with a 0. If you are registering for something that does not start with a 0, it is not a preliminary course. It will not contribute to your preliminary year, and more than likely you won't even be able to do it because you're not able to register things until you fully matriculate into the faculty. So for a computing student, I don't have any specific recommendations for which 2 sciences to pick, but everyone says math. I would say personally, math is a good one. Math. If you don't like math and you know you're gonna fail the maths, don't do it. Don't do it. I will be honest with you. Do not do it. Pick sciences that you know that you can do. Please do that. But if you want something recommended to help you when you get to level 1 and level 2 and whatever, math is a good one. Your second science, that is, I can't give a specific recommendation for your second science because that is up to you. Biology will have drawing labs and all of that stuff, 6-hour labs and all of that. Physics is applied maths, and not everybody loves physics like that. Chemistry is chemistry. I don't like chemistry, so I cannot speak good on chemistry. But if you are a chemistry person, well, fine, go do chemistry. But yeah, just pick whatever science whatever two you're comfortable with, My personal recommendation would maybe be math and bio if you're looking for something that's not too hard to pass. Math and bio. Um, Checking the comments. Let me see if there's anything I can answer. How often do you get tests and quizzes? That varies from course to course, depending on if you're doing a minor or anything like that. You will do other courses outside of computing that may give tests and whatnot. Um, but if we're speaking about computing courses alone, no, you don't get tests and quizzes often outside of mid-semester and finals. No, you don't. What I will say though is you get labs. You get labs every single week, and that is not something to play with. So yeah, you get your labs every single week. You have to do them. They contribute to your grade. They're all graded. Every single one is graded. So if you is I if even if though you're not getting tests and quizzes, you are getting graded coursework every single week. So don't think that means you can rest and take it easy. No, no. You still have to be on top of your stuff. Next thing, do applicants of scholarships get notified in time before the tuition is due? Um, as yeah, Abigail answered that here. She said she's one of your seniors, guys. She's over in the math department. UE scholarships normally get notified around October, December. If you are not on UE's a UE scholarship, I can't speak to that specifically. You would have to contact the entity that is providing you the scholarship at that time. Um, so yeah, but there's your answer to that question. How long does it take to learn Java and Python? This varies from person to person. Um, some people can learn Python very well to a good proficiency in about a month. Some people can take the entire semester to learn it properly, and some people never do get grasp it properly in the first place. Um, it really depends on you and the work you put in and how dedicated you are to learning it. So the courses in terms of 1126 and 1127, which are your introductory courses, they will last the entire semester. You'll be learning from day one to the last day for both of them. So it's 6 weeks straight of learning for 1126 and another 6 weeks of straight learning for 1127. So that's 12 weeks total that you'll be doing Python. Same for Java in semester two. When you do Java, it's not split up like Python is. Java is straight through the entire semester, 12 weeks. So that is what UE does. But if you want to read ahead and you want to go ahead on your own, it is possible to learn it faster. That's not a hard, the 12 weeks is not a hard and fast time. It is possible to learn it faster if you go into it and go on your own and you grasp content quickly and easily. Another thing here is how soon can you transfer to and from FST? So I realize it says FST, so I answer in that context. To transfer out of the faculty into or out of the faculty, one, if since you guys are freshers, I would say now would be a good time. In fact, I would probably even recommend last week because transferring out of the faculty is different from say transferring to a different department or something like that within the faculty. Transferring outside of the faculty will require you to now send you a new offer and stuff. But since the period for that is out, you now need to call them and get that sorted out so they can transfer you entirely over to another faculty and stuff like that. So yeah, how soon? If you wait too long, you won't be able to transfer until next year. But I can't give you a hard and fast time on that. So what I would say is it's best to get in contact with admissions and ask them how you go about that at this stage. If you let the semester start and you haven't transferred out yet, it is a lot harder to transfer out or into the faculty. Next question is, how is preliminary year structured? Meaning, for example, a year one we do X amount of courses to make up the credits for one semester. If I choose math and bio, how is that structured for the year? Okay, so for this, as I said, each preliminary course is worth 6 credits. So you would do, I'm trying to remember how much, I cannot give you an exact number on the amount of courses you have to do, but each course is 6 credits, and you do the needed number of credits for the year to matriculate properly into the faculty. So essentially, it would basically be like more how the rest of UE works. It's not very different. You're just doing more basic courses to ensure that you have the skill level and the knowledge level to manage FST properly. So it's not really structured differently. I think you do a less courses than the rest of than students who start at level 1, because each course is 6 credits instead of the usual 3. So I think you do less courses, but it's not structured very differently from if you were starting at level 1. It's just the content is very different. So there's that. The electives question, I want to answer this question, but it's not a question for tonight. That will be answered in night 2. So tomorrow night we will be going over registration, electives, how to do minors, all of that stuff. So if you want a question answered, please make it tomorrow night. Yeah. Next question is, what you recommend to learn Python and Java via like website, for instance, Code Academy? As I said, I don't use websites like that. I personally use YouTube, as YouTube is free for everybody all the time. There is no premium membership for YouTube. You can go on YouTube whenever you like and find as much information as you want. As I said earlier, w3schools.com is good for worded content. So if you're willing to read, w3schools.com is good for that. If you want something interactive, you already said Code Academy. That's one that's very good. I'd recommend that. For Java, JetBrains is a good one. I believe there was a link sent in the group to jetbrains.com. JetBrains is good for Java. I wouldn't worry about Java right now. I would worry about it after you've done Python. That's what I recommend. So you have Christmas break. That's when you can worry about Java, before semester 2. You're only doing Python. Python is the only amount of coding you're doing in semester 1. So I'd say you try as hard as possible to master Python before you worry too much about Java. I know in the group, you guys might read in the group and see seniors talking about both of them a lot, but I would say focus yourself on one first before you start worrying about the other. So yeah, those are those questions there. So learning beforehand, that was a question I got, and I did say it's good to go on YouTube and start looking at stuff beforehand for that kind of stuff. Important skills for computer science. So when doing computer science, there are skills that are important for you to know. I have a list here with the ones that I think are very useful. Number one, that's the biggest one, problem solving skills. You need problem solving skills, because a misconception about computer science is that it's about coding. It's not. Computer science is not about coding that much, not really. Coding is more of a means to an end. Coding is a tool, not the whole point of the thing. Okay, JetBrains, yeah. Anyways, yeah. So coding is just the tool and mean to an end. The languages, you can learn every language till thy kingdom come. You might still not be good at ComSci, to be very honest with you, because first and foremost, ComSci is about, and not even ComSci alone, IT as well, software engineering. No matter which of the majors you're doing, it is all about problem solving skills. You get a problem and you need to figure out the way that you are going to solve that problem. Um, so coding is just the putting your solution into tangible form, essentially. So problem solving is an important skill. So if you don't have that knack for problem solving, I'd say work on it. Another thing is, and in the same breath, logical and critical thinking is important. ComSci also has a lot of math related content in it, especially in your second year. You don't do much in your first year in terms of math, but in your second year, there's a lot of math related stuff. And even when you're coding in itself, logical thinking and critical thinking is very, very important when you're doing computer science. And I do have here math. If you're not good at math, no, you won't fail. Yes, you can do computer science if you're not that good at math, but the reality of it is you're going to have to at least be able to pass some math courses. So look forward to that. You are going to need to work on the math skills a little bit if you're not that hot on math. Yeah, so I would really recommend brushing up on some math. If you did pure math for computing will be a lot easier for you. I will say that. And when you move to level 2, discrete math might be a little less foreign to you if you have done pure math. Pure math is a very good subject to come into computer science with. I will say that. Um, Communication and teamwork skills is very important. In 1126, you get a project that is group work. In 1161, in second semester, you get a project that is also group work. And in the future, a lot of courses in computing have group work assignments. When you do crit, that will be group work. There's a lot of group work if you're not getting to it. And I know we all hate group work. Boo, group work. Group work is the worst, but you will have to learn to do it. And you're going to need to learn to manage being in a team and having good group dynamics. You're going to need to learn how to deal with people who aren't pulling their weight, how to communicate with people effectively. Conflict resolution, please don't just cuss people because they might irritate you. Have decent conflict resolution skills so that when problems do come up in groups, you can smooth them out and move along as easily and as quickly as possible. Another skill that's important is creativity. No, Abigail, we do not bully our group members. We firmly nudge them in the right direction. Anyways, um, creativity is important for a computer science student. Most people would think that as a science, it's not creative, but no, I would say you need a little bit of creativity. You need to be able to finesse a little bit when you're doing computer science, because it is coding. And one thing I say with coding, and one piece of advice that I hope you guys really do get is that with coding, there's never one answer. There's hardly ever a single correct answer. There is. So you and your friend can have two completely different answers to something, and both answers are both valid and correct in their own ways. So you do need creativity. You're going to need to be able to finesse a little bit with the coding. I'm please be creative with your solutions and your answers. Um, Another thing you will need is good time management. As I said, you have labs every single week and you have other courses to deal with on top of that, projects and all of that stuff. Getting involved, I very much recommend getting involved in the university, doing clubs and all of that stuff. You will have to balance and manage all of this. So time management is a very important skill for a computer science major, please work on your time management skills if they are not good. And coming out of high school, I know most of us do not have good time management skills. So I'm sure this applies to most, if not everybody. Next up is interacting with faculty. What is it like talking to faculty in the computing department? When you're talking to faculty, here is my advice. One, you're going to be communicating with most of your lecturers by email. It is very rare that our lecturer does give out their number like that. So if they don't give it to you, don't ask for it, is one thing I would say in terms of, respect and manners, do non cordiality, do. If a lecturer does not ask, does not freely give out their number, it is best not to ask, because that means their preferred form of communication is their email. Just like you guys get UE emails, every lecturer has a UE email that takes a specific format. So usually every lecturer has an email that you can get them on. So that's that one thing. It's best to email your lecturers when you have problems. If a lecturer gives out their number, normally every course, most courses, not every, most courses have a class representative that the lecturer will communicate with directly. So usually they're the ones that get the WhatsApp number. So you will have to direct your issues through them and they will get it to the lecturer for you. So choose your class reps carefully. Do not choose somebody that you know isn't going to come online. Oh yes, this is important. Let me put this up. Googling, guys, guys, guys. And I've already seen the problem now with sometimes a lot of the questions you guys ask. Google is free. Google is free and Google is your friend. Google, that I know they warned you against Wikipedia and all of them things there in high school, but you're in university now. Google is free. No one's going to hold your hand. Please use Google. If you run up on a problem in a lab or a tutorial or anything that you are not sure of, please Google it. Just type it into Google. It's fine. You will probably get an answer. If you try to run something when you're coding, you'll figure out these things will make sense when you start. If you don't get it now when you start, it will make sense. If you get errors when you code things, copy the error, paste it into Google. More than likely somebody's going to tell you exactly how to fix it, and you realize exactly what the problem is. Google is your best friend. Even though when you haven't started yet and you are figuring out things about the university and you're trying to get information, UE is not the most backwards university in Jamaica. There's a lot of information online about the things that you may be wondering about. In the group for the WhatsApp group description, there are links to resources and frequently asked questions. Make use of them. Googling is very important. Anyways, back from that aside, back to interacting with faculty. So yeah, do not email your lecturers in the middle of the night. Don't do that. Don't email your lecturers in the middle of the night. You can schedule usually on Outlook when you're using your email, or if you're using your Gmail, you can schedule messages. So if you know you're not going to remember in the morning to send off the email, you can type up the email and set it to send at 8 or 9 a.m. or whenever. So that is important. Learn proper email etiquette. Always say things like good day, good morning, good afternoon, all of that stuff. And many of the lecturers have done their PhD. So if a lecturer or their masters, so if you see a lecturer have the title doctor or whatever, it's usually a good idea to include that when you are contacting them and using their name. So if it's doctor whatever, usually that's a thing people care about. So that's important to remember. Always stay respectful, even if you're angry, even if you're frustrated. It is very important to stay respectful with your lecturers. Usually, your lecturers can be just as confused as you, or maybe they just didn't see something from your perspective. It is very important to remain respectful and have decorum and class when you are speaking to your lecturers, even if you're angry. An important thing to do is to learn how to express your anger properly and not in a way that can come across as disrespectful. So please, please, please be very, very careful with how you speak to people and how you bring across your point, and to do it in a respectful manner. One thing I will say is look up email etiquette and stuff like that. Read up on it when you're coming, especially if you happen to, if someone here happens to become a class rep or something like that. It's important to be able to communicate with people by email properly and whatnot. Whenever you have a problem at UE, even outside of your lectures, more than likely they're going to direct you to an email. Calling people at UE can be a very difficult thing. Usually, email is the fastest way to get anywhere. So it's good to learn to be respectful and to learn proper etiquette when emailing someone. So that's what I say about interacting with faculty. Um, Yeah, I think that's it for my topics. Before I begin to close off, are there any other questions that anyone might have? Anything that any lingering questions that I may not be covering in the next night or in any other nights, but I forgot to mention here? Any questions, anybody? Okay, not seeing any questions, so that means everyone seems to be good so far. If you do think of any other questions that I may not have gotten to later on, and you don't see the topic coming up in any of the other nights that we will be doing this for, I'm there in the group. My number is in the group. You can ask in the group. There's me and the other seniors who are willing to help you. Or if it's something else more personal that you don't necessarily want your business out there, you can message me personally. I will try my best to answer. I usually try to answer as fast as I can. If I don't, I'm not one who goes to bed. So if you message me at 2 a.m., you might get me. So yeah, that's one thing. So tomorrow night we will be going over registration stress. So tomorrow night will be how do you register? What courses do you register for? What are the courses like? What do they entail? Picking electives, how to do a minor. Let me see if I'm missing anything. Um, and oh yes, and how to plan your degree. So please come out tomorrow night for that stuff. If you really, and encourage anybody you know doing computer science to come along if they were not here tonight. Submitting late assignments. That will we will speak about that another night. Yes, so please encourage any of your friends or anyone you know that's doing computer science to come out. I am giving very important information out here. So I would recommend stuff that may not be going that when you go to orientation, they will not be going into it in this much detail. So I would recommend coming out to these sessions. I want to thank everybody who was here tonight, the seniors who came here to support me. Thank you. I appreciate you guys. And that's it for now. Good night, guys.